Thanks everybody for coming in this morning. I love the fact this is the execution stage because anybody actually taken my training before or seen any of that stuff? All right, cool, because if you've taken this stuff, you know it's about execution. I'm not here to talk about theory. I'm not talking about some cool different thing that's happening. I'm actually going to share with you hopefully some very specific things you can walk out of here with and do to make a difference. But just to set the stage here, how many people are actual like reps? Reps, all right? Management, executive teams, all right, cool. Companies under 100 employees, under 100 employees, all right? All right, nice, those are my people. So I train a lot of these companies, and this is, my background is all in sales. I'm not really a trainer. I'm a sales guy that came across some really cool stuff and it worked for me. And then the company, then I sold my first company, joined that training company, and they screwed it all up and I took it over. So, I train, I sell every day. Because to me right now, if you're not staying on top of what's happening right now with sales in general, but prospecting specifically, you're going to become a dinosaur real fast. Because if you were doing something, prospecting specifically is not like riding a bike these days. If you were doing prospecting 3, 4, 5 years ago and you hadn't been doing it for a while and you start doing it again, it's different. It's just different. And I'm actually watching, one of the things that I start all presentations off with is the death of the average sales rep and how I know I'm watching the average sales professional die a very painful death right now. The ones who are just clicking through and generating email. Who's using like cadence tools, like a sales loft or an outreach or anybody like that? Anybody using those type of things? So I love these tools that are coming out, right? And they're supposed to be sales efficiency tools, but you got all sorts of reps use them as sales automation tools. And ultimately are going to be sales replacement tools. Because the ones that are just cranking out template emails, making generic phone calls if they're making phone calls at all, press and play on demos, all that stuff is getting replaced right now through artificial intelligence and all the things that are out there. I mean, are you guys paying attention to what's happening to artificial intelligence? Like really paying attention to this shit? It's driving, what's going on right now is scaring the ever-living crap out of me. So as an example, IBM Watson's a client of mine. You know how they're a client of mine? IBM Watson. I wrote a blog post about them back in 2016 about my predictions of what sales is going to do and all this. And I talked about artificial intelligence. And I wrote one line in there. I'm like, have you been watching those IBM Watson commercials? That thing's getting scary smart. That's all I said. I posted on LinkedIn. 30 seconds later, I got an email in my inbox from a VP of sales over at IBM Watson saying, hey, John, I'd like to talk to you about your sales training. Could you schedule a call with my assistant, Sarah? I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. All right, I'm like, I get it. You're watching, whatever. Snowden told us. And he sent me Sarah's link, right? Her email. And so I use Outlook, still old school, so I screenshotted it, right? So I screenshotted the email and I put it into an Outlook email and I said, hey Sarah, Kevin just reached out, want to schedule a meeting. Here you go. And I use those calendar sharing tools like Time Trade or whatever it is. So I use one of those. So I sent her that. And I said, just click, pick a link, time on the calendar, Kevin works. She hits me back almost immediately with, sorry, John, I'm not in a position right now where I can click on links or attachments. Could you please just suggest some times? I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. Like, where are you that you can't click on a link or an attachment? Whatever. So I just sent her, long story short, it took me 3 emails back and forth with Sarah to realize that Sarah wasn't an actual human being. She was a fully automated, artificially intelligent assistant. So I get on the phone with Kevin. I was like, hey, Kevin, thanks so much for reaching out. I really appreciate it. I got a question before we get started here. Who's Sarah? And he's like, she's my assistant. I'm like, is Sarah real? He goes, it depends on what your definition of real is. I said, holy shit. And then the other day, so this training, so I've been training this for 8 years, right? It used to be called Basho, now I've taken it over. And there was one email that I used to train that used to be kind of the be-all, end-all of this. It was called the why you now email. And ooh, did I make some money off of this. And a lot of other people made some money off of this. And it was all about doing research on somebody, going on their website, and differentiating yourself based on you're doing homework, right? Like it's not the template crap email where it's like, oh, bubbling this one up to the top, blah, blah, blah. Did you get my first email? And then the inevitable breakup email, 1, 2, or 3, stuck under a rock bullshit. Please don't send that fucking email anymore, by the way. Anyways, so it was about differentiating by doing your homework, right? That email has been very overused, and it's kind of been commoditized. It still works when done right, but I know it's on its way out. I know that none of us are going to trust email in the next I'll give it 2 years, and this is why. I had an email, so 2 kids at Salesforce actually left, I trained them, and they left Salesforce, and they started a company called Shakespeare, and it's an artificial intelligence group. Shakespeare AI, take a look at it. Because I had them, they're like, John, we've created this artificial intelligent bot that we can create like super customized emails in like no time at all. I'm like, please, you can't really create that customized email. No robot can do that. Bullshit, watch. Read this email. Hey, Ryan. I was researching Gainsight and came across your review of Chad Hornfield from Fluitive wrote about it. It was a line from, quote, from an efficiency perspective, we've been able to manage significantly more customers, a team of automated functions at Gainsight that compelled me to reach out to you. The reason Chad's testimonial stood out is because it resonated with something we strongly believe in. We believe that personalization of your outreach and making a difference in prospects, our Gmail plugin. Read that email. That was not written by a human being. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think I could have written a better email than that. So my response to him was, there's no human involvement in writing this? And he said to me, he goes, no human involvement other than picking up the article for the app to take a look at. It took 70 seconds to bang that thing out. My response, holy shit. So the point is right now, if you're just going through the motions right now, you're going to get replaced. I actually wrote a post a little while ago that I think the phone is going to make a raging comeback. It's going to make a raging comeback because I don't think that any of us are going to trust an email in the next few years. Think about it. You get that, and you buy into, hey, oh, that's a person that wrote me that, right? And then you find out it's not. When's the next time you're going to trust any email that comes into your inbox from a person? Phone's going to be the area where I think sales can actually differentiate themselves, which is why for those of you who are on the phones, get that skill going. Get it going, because it's still effective, all right? I was on a panel the other day, and somebody asked, hey, what's the newest, coolest, killer app? And all these executives in unison said the phone. I was like, all right, cool. So anyways, but I'm going to share with you kind of the process right now that I bring to Salesforce and what I would really recommend taking a look at, some structure to your outbound generation, lead generation stuff. And this is because the science to me is how we can survive, okay? The science is, treating sales way more scientifically than artistically is how we're going to be able to stay up to date with what's going on out there. And if there's any recommendation, by the way, that I'll give here, people asked me recently, somebody asked me recently, John, now that you're 41, you know, if you could tell your 22-year-old self something, what would it be? And my number one answer to that was A/B split test. A/B split test everything you do. And I mean that for everything. You know, you're going after CFOs in the healthcare industry, come up with 2 different messages to CFOs in the healthcare industry, make 20 phone calls with this approach, make 20 phone calls with that approach, see which one yields a higher response. Emails, if you can send out 100 emails to a specific persona or something like that, cut it up into 25, 25, 25, 25, and see which one yields a higher response rate. Gatekeepers. I don't know the best way to get through a gatekeeper for you. I know what works for me, but I'm John Barrows from Boston, Massachusetts. I'm guessing my approach probably isn't going to work for some of y'all. I'm about as direct and in your face as it gets when it comes to selling. So, but here's a tip. Tomorrow, when you're making calls and you're talking to gatekeepers, in the morning, be super nice. Be like way over the top nice. When they ask who you're calling for, I'm calling for you. I just want to brighten up your day, see how things are going, right? And then in the afternoon, be super direct. Be like, who's calling? John, put me through. Where are you calling from? John, Boston, put me through, and see what happens. I'm not saying one's better than the other. I'm saying you'll figure it out, right? Objection handling, right? I was talking, Gittimore was talking about objections, and there's really only one objection that came up. I can buy it online. But so there's a lot of objections. But there's really only 3 or 4 different ways of handling it. First of all, my favorite is the preemptive strike, knowing, and he talked about this, knowing the objection's coming. So preparing for it before it even comes in and using it before they can, right? So there's that. There's the feel, felt, found approach. Right? I totally understand how you feel about that. Other people felt the same way. What they found was... My only recommendation on that one is don't use the words feel, felt, found, right? When I was like 23 years old, I learned that one. I busted out on a VP. I was like, I totally understand how you feel about that. Other people felt it. As soon as the word felt came out of my mouth, he was like, look, kid, don't try the feel, felt, found approach on me, all right? I was like, no, but I just learned it. But anyways, but there's like 5 or 6 of them. Google it, right? And then so write down an objection that you get on a regular basis. Come up with 2 different ways of handling that objection. The next 10 times it comes up, deal with it this way. The next 10 times, deal with it that way. That split test, if you walk out of here from just this little session here with that mentality of trying something new every single day but consciously doing it, you'll get that much better, that much faster, and give yourself a chance to get ahead of what's going on right now. But to start with how you should, I think, start the planning of prospecting, y'all following around account-based marketing, account-based selling, you're hearing a ton of that stuff. All that stuff starts with the ideal customer profile here, all right? Really, please, 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 if you haven't done this already in your business, go home and do the ideal customer profile exercise. Here's my version of it. It's tiering out your accounts. Most of us get our territories given us by very general demographic information, industry, number of employees, that type of stuff. But that's all well and good, but you want to dig a little bit deeper and find out what are the nuanced things that make them good accounts. So for instance, categories on that level 2 up there would be stuff like existing technologies. Like what existing technologies are they using? If they're using certain technologies, that's a good thing for us. Others, that's not so good. Like anybody heard of Siftery by any chance? Siftery? Write that one down. It's free. Siftery, it's crowdsourced information on anybody's tech stack. So you can type in any company's name into Siftery, and it'll tell you exactly what their tech stack is. There's their DevOps stack, there's their sales stack, there's their marketing stack, and then if you can find out they're using a technology, you can create a message around that and go for it, all right? So hashtag Siftery, you're welcome. To Siftery, not you guys, but it's free. Or like competition. You all know you have some competitors out there that you can whoop their ass if you come across them, right? You have those other ones that you're like, ooh, they whoop our ass. So like when you find a client that has a certain competitor, you're like, okay, that's a tier 1, tier 2. It's like some competitors aren't even worth me going after because if they're happy with that client, it's like, okay, cool, good luck. So I don't want to waste my time. The more nuanced we can get with this information, the more targeted we can be with our messaging. And this is where time management, I think a huge problem with a lot of people is time management. Uh-oh, I think I skipped it. I went too far. Quality, quantity, practice. It's going to come up there in a second. Shit. Oh, there it is. I'm sorry. These things they're flying on me. All right, quality, quantity, practice. That's where tier 1 accounts. I recommend everybody in here have a top tier 1 account, top 25 list of tier 1 accounts. And follow those on all the social selling, on the social listening tools. You guys use Owler, O-W-L-E-R? If you're not using Owler, use Owler. It's a free tool, it's awesome. It's Google Alerts on steroids. Sales Navigator, obviously. These are the ones I put on all those tools so I can listen to them. And I'm gonna talk to you about my morning routine. I have a morning routine where every morning for an hour, I scan through data feeds on all my top tier accounts and I listen to see what's going on with them. And I pick up on those triggers to say, okay, cool, and I just fire off 2 or 3 really high quality emails every single day. And that's what keeps my pipeline nice and full. Because I'll tell you, I train all the other stuff, negotiations, all that other stuff. I'll tell you there's one solution to every other problem at every other stage of the sales process. And it's a big fat pipeline. You got a big fat pipeline, you don't have to worry too much about the rest of the stuff. Right? I don't discount at all anymore, at all. You know why? Because I don't have to. Because I'm booked through September. I've raised my rates this year. Shit, because I could, right? Because I want to put myself, I prospect, even though I'm busier now than I've ever been, I prospect all the time. Because I want to put myself in a position where I want your business, I don't need your business. If I want your business, I sell the right way. If I need your business, I do some shady shit. You know what I mean? Like I call you up at the end of the month and give you that discount you didn't even ask for. You know what I mean? I do some stuff that's like just, questionable at best. So by tiering out your accounts, this is how you can do time management, and this is how you can focus on some high-quality stuff. So your tier 1s, that's quality. Tier 2s, that's quantity. But when I talk about quantity, I talk about not just blasting out 1 million emails, but coming up with a segment. So I want to see every VP of sales in the SaaS industry that uses Salesforce, and I want to list them in my account. And that might only be 30 or 40 people in my territory, but I can come up with a message like 5 or 6 different messages to them and run that list and see what happens, right? So I'm going to come up with a contact strategy around that thing. Because the value that I bring to a VP of sales in the SaaS industry that uses Salesforce is different than the value I bring to a VP of sales in the manufacturing industry that uses Microsoft Dynamics. And I can come up with messaging that speaks to that, all right? So that's where you can kind of start to get the volume up there without just cranking out 1 million emails. Please leave the template stuff to the marketing teams. Because you got to ask yourself, if you're just doing those templates, if you're just an SDR out there right now, I'll be very frank with you. If you're an SDR right now just cranking out template emails and doing that bubbling this one up to the top thing and not putting any thought or context around what you're putting out there, you will be replaced here in the next year or 2. You will be replaced. You're being replaced, okay? So think about it. Anybody follow Gary Vee? Here in New York, you got to, right? If you're not following Gary Vee, he's crazy. I love him. But he talks about one thing that he got me hooked on was context versus content. Everybody talks about content is king. Content is king. He said, all right, fine. If content is king, then context is God. That got me thinking. Sales versus marketing. Marketing is content. Sales is context. If we are not putting any context around our content, we are absolutely no different than marketing, and therefore I have no idea why we're getting paid to do what we do, right? That's why presentations, that's why don't just press play on your demos. I got a marketing background. I can put together a better demo than you can if all you're going to do is press play like you did in boot camp and got your badge for, right? Ask me why the hell why are we here to talk? What are your priorities? Let me cut that 35 slides down to the 5 that actually make the biggest difference to your business. Context, all right? So I actually use a spreadsheet to help coordinate myself, and I'm happy to share it with anybody else. I'll put my contact information at the end there. If you want it, I'll send it over to you. But I use this to kind of tier out my accounts. Once I tier out my accounts, I got my top 25, and then I pick 5 a month, just 5 a month, where I sit down for 2 hours once a month. It's a recurring meeting on my calendar for 2 hours. And I pick 5 accounts, and I go deep on them. And I come up with 5, 6 different things to say to each one of them, and I implement my contact strategy. And then I put it into tools like Sales Loft. I put it into tools like Outreach, those type of things. But this way, I got this nice little cadence of this rolling top 5 where it's this really high quality stuff where I'm telling a story to them. Because that's where we can differentiate now, is the artificial intelligence can write that one email. What it can't do right now is tell the story. And what I'm going to beg you to do is when you sit down and you go after a prospect, tell your story. Because it's not about the one email, it's not about the one voicemail, it's about the contact strategy. I've read report after report that talks about how many touches it takes to get in touch with somebody these days. I've heard 10 touches, 30 touches. I literally read a report the other day that said 35 touches, that's how many touches. I'm like, shit, you call me 35 times, I'm going to call the police on you, right? But I don't care what the number is, it's more than one. I've never seen a report that says 1 touch is the highest response rate. That's why, by the way, it is not worth spending 30 minutes writing an email. It's just not. Assume that email isn't going to be responded to. Tell a story, all right? And it has to be like, make it, cut it up a little bit and add some value to it. So after you understand your accounts, now you understand your target. Persona stuff. Hopefully you all got into this, the persona-based messaging, right? Top down, bottom up, I don't really give a shit. I'm a top down guy. I like talking to the executive suite because it's easier to go downhill than it is to go uphill, but whatever. Just know the language of the people that you're reaching out to. And I did a report, and I got this one that I'll share with you too. This one's, this is high value if you want it, but you gotta follow me on social, do something, hashtag something for this, all right? JBarrows. But I went out, anybody heard of Hourly Nerd by any chance? So Hourly Nerd, they changed their name recently, but what it is crowdsourced MBA kids. So it's all these MBA kids who are getting their MBA who are way smarter than me, and you can get them to do anything you want. So I put a project on Hourly Nerd. I want to see the top priorities of the top executives in the top industries in 2017. And whoo, they came back to me with some good info. Now I got a spreadsheet broken down by industry, healthcare, SaaS, retail, manufacturing, oil and gas, CEO priority 1, 2, 3, CFO priority 1, 2, 3, CIO priority 1, 2, 3. Concept here is a CIO in the healthcare industry has different priorities than CIOs in the manufacturing industry. If I understand how to speak that language, I can craft better messaging. I can come up with better questions. I can tell a better story. So I got that one available for you too, but you got to do something for that one. You got to show me that you hit me on Instagram or something. It's all John M. Barrows, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. Because once we do that, I put them into, now that we've identified my 5 accounts, now I pick one of them and say, okay, who's the person I'm going after? What are their priorities? All right, top 3 ideally. Right? And if I can't find it because they're not C-suite or it's not one of those industries, I just do a Google search, priorities, CIOs, healthcare, 2017, see what comes up. Somebody's writing a blog about it. Read it. Then the next piece is looking for the triggers. Hopefully you all heard of this. Listening for those triggers. They open up a new office, they launch a new product, whatever it is, something about them. This is where the Owler stuff comes into play. This is where I got a dummy Facebook account. I follow companies, not people on Facebook, that's weird, but I follow accounts on Facebook. Not to stop, just to listen to them. Because a lot of times, a lot of the small businesses that we're going after, their website might not have a lot going on it, but their Facebook page does. So I just listen, I was like, hey, cool, especially if any of y'all are selling anything that has anything to do with like employees, you know what I mean? Like customer, culture or something like that. They post all sorts of crazy stuff about events and that type of thing. Hey, I saw you had a really cool event and da-da-da-da. I'd love to talk to you about it. That's why I follow people on Twitter. I follow my top 25 on Twitter. You guys use Twitter lists? Twitter lists. Twitter lists. The reason Twitter lists is because you can build a list, prospect list, and put all your prospects on a list. Client list, put all your clients on a list. So because if you put your top 25 on your Twitter feed, there's a million things on there, you're gonna lose it. But if you put it on a list, then as soon as you click on that list, the only thing that shows up in your feed are your prospects, are your clients, all right? So you just listen to them and you listen for this stuff. And this is how I do it, right? So I look for, so we found 3 triggers, we found 3 priorities. Now I got 6 different things to tell a story with, okay? And the way I do it, the way I look, here's Owler. You have Foresight, Hiring Solutions, they got a new storage offering coming up. Experian, they got an untapped opportunity with the channel. Puppet's got a new CEO talking there, right? Any of these things I can make connections to, use as reasons to reach out to people. They got CFO here at Blue Jeans. I guarantee there's something I can read into that. There's Rob Brewster, my boy there over at GoForms, going into a new marketplace. I do this with customers too so I can stay up to date on them. Like Salesforce, if I wasn't using some of these tools to follow Salesforce, Salesforce acquires a new business once a week. There is not a chance that I would be able to stay up to date with them, even if they were one of my only accounts. So I have to use all these tools to stay up to date so I'm not the idiot that calls them up and says, hey, what's going on? Oh, you didn't notice we just launched this massive new campaign about this or whatever it is? Oh, no. There's my dummy Facebook account, Optimizely. There you are. They acquired a new business there. And then you come up with messaging. So here's a tip for you to come up with. Don't come up with elevator pitches. The elevator pitches are gross. Gross. And I'll prove it to you. My first company was Thrive Networks. I thought the elevator pitch was it, right? And so I came up with it. I thought I just had to say it 1,000,000 times, and I was going to figure it out. Wrong. I'll tell you how gross it is, ready? This was 15 years ago, by the way, because I used to make $400 a week. And it got me 8 meetings a month, got me 4 proposals, and here's the proof. Hi, this is John Barrows with Thrive Networks. We do outsourced IT support for small to mid-sized companies in the Boston area. We take a really unique approach to manage your IT infrastructure by combining the best of what people in technology have to offer. We tie our network operations center and our managed services to your environment so we can take care of all the small things on a proactive basis. So when the engineers come on site, they can take care of the higher level, more strategic initiatives to drive your business forward. I'd love to talk to you about your IT support needs. If you could call me back at 617-529-7271, I'd really appreciate it. And oh, was I proud of that. I would leave that voicemail. I'd be like, what's up? Nailed it again. Right, pitch, tone, everything was perfect on that one. And then all of a sudden I look at my numbers. No, I wasn't getting a damn callback. I was getting more callbacks when I would screw up a voicemail than when I would nail the perfect one every single time. I did this one by mistake once. I was like, hi, this is John Barrows with Thrive Networks. We do outsourced IT support for small, oh shit, look. I'm sorry, we fixed computers. You got problems with your computers. Call me back at 6 months. I got more callbacks with that approach, hands down. So I started doing it on purpose. So anyways, the elevator pitch sucks. I call them attention grabbers. What can you say in the first 5 to 15 seconds of a conversation to get somebody to say, tell me more, how do you do that? Easiest way to do that, case studies. If you're anybody who's in marketing here, marketing, go get case studies. The best thing you could do for your sales team is go get case studies, quantifiable results on case studies. So you can make phone calls and say, we showed this company in your industry how to do this. And then call everybody that fits that profile and say the same damn thing. Right? But you want to come up with short, sweet, to the point stuff. And so you can tie this. So if you think about, if you want to take pictures of that, go ahead. But we can tie this to triggers and priorities. So you can come up with messaging that's based on triggers and messaging that's based on priorities. So for instance, merger and acquisition, that's a trigger. I can come up with a value prop that speaks to that. We show companies who go through services acquisition need to get prospect managers to fill the funnel with new opportunities, or ramp time. If that's a priority for somebody, we plug my online training portal into their own thing, so I help them with ramp time. You come up with these messages, and then you repurpose them, and then you put them into these tools. You put them into these cadence things, and you split test the shit out of them to figure out which ones work. All right? And that's how you can get better and better and better every day, and marketing and sales can be aligned here. All right? And then you can get, so you can come up with messaging. So here's a template. I hate templates to be blasted out to 1 million people. I love templates to be used from an efficiency standpoint. So I saw your recent acquisition of. The reason it prompted me to reach out to you is that part can stay the same, that value proposition. The first part has to be customized, or it should be. Right? The next part can be repurposed, and then everybody can put this into a system and split test the crap out of it, okay? Voicemails, a little bit of a different approach here. Hi Sarah, the reason for my call, by the way, here's one of my favorite nuggets out of all my training. Start every single conversation you have when you make a phone call with that phrase, the reason for my call is. Because if you can't finish that sentence, you shouldn't be making the phone call. Don't ever touch base or check in ever, ever, ever again. Have a reason. So hey, the reason for my call today is one of the VPs wanted to talk to you. Boom, call me back. Short, sweet, to the point. I know I'm a little over here. Last but not least, schedule it out, structure it out. I have 5 accounts once a month where I sit down 2 hours once a month at the beginning of the month. I go deep dive, I look at their research, I look at the personas, come up with messaging, and then schedule it out. And then my top 25, I drink my coffee every single morning. That's my morning routine. I'm gonna recommend you all put together a morning routine where you just sit, instead of checking your fantasy leagues or whatever, or any of that and getting all pissed off, or reading the news, read news on your clients, read news on your prospects, read news on your personas, educate yourself on what's going on out there so you can have better messaging and you can just think and do better, higher quality work, okay? That's really it for me on my end. All my contact information. Like I said, if you want some of this stuff, if you want some of those spreadsheets and stuff like that, I am more than happy to share it. And yes, that is me with Tom Brady. What? So I know I'm in New York. I know I'm in New York. You Jets, oh man, what are you doing? Come on back. It's not even fun to make fun of y'all anymore. You need to have, it's not even cool. It's not fun. Be good. But Patriots, we're gonna rock it again this year. So anyways, I know we're a little over. Anybody got any questions before I get off the stage here? Anybody got any questions about any of this stuff? Hopefully I covered it. I know I talked really fast on this one. I was trying to cram, by the way, a day's worth of content into 25 minutes right there. So anyways, by all means, I'm going to be walking around here. If y'all want to talk about stuff, you have questions about what you're doing, do not hesitate to hit me up. I'll be rolling around, and feel free to hit me up on any of this stuff. Also, there is an offer right there, Sales Machine. I do have an online stuff that has all this stuff in video format. I ain't pushing it on you, but if you do want it, it goes through the exact same training that Salesforce goes through and how they use my online stuff to help educate their teams, all right? Thank you all very much. It's been a pleasure.